All right, listeners, get ready for a deep dive into a part of World War II history you might not know much about.
Interesting.
Ediea.
Ediea.
Yeah. You sent us a whole stack of sources,
Yeah.
newspapers, a radio report. We even got a transcript of a pretty heated phone call.
Wow.
So clearly you're looking for the full story here.
Sounds like it.
And don't worry, that's exactly what we're going to do.
Awesome.
By the end of this deep dive, you'll understand how this seemingly small nation made a huge impact, not just on how the war ended, but on shaping the world we live in today.
That's what's so often overlooked. It's how nations like Ediea, who might not be on the front page every day,
Right.
still make these crucial decisions that impact everyone.
Exactly.
Global events,
Yeah. Okay, let's unpack this. Starting in 1940,
Okay.
we've got this letter from Winston Churchill to Edia's president, President Elmora.
Oh, wow.
It's right before the war officially breaks out for Ediea, and the tension is, well, it's pretty palpable.
Yeah, and it highlights a key point about Ediea. They desperately wanted to stay neutral.
Yeah.
But Churchill's basically warning them, like, hey, Germany's invasion of Iceland, this is a direct threat to you. And he's really laying out why...
I gotta admit, I'd probably need a little refresher here.
Yeah.
Like, why was Iceland so important back then?
Think of it this way.
Right.
Iceland, it was like a key control point
Okay.
in the North Atlantic.
Right.
Whoever held it could basically disrupt all the shipping lanes.
Oh.
It was like the highway of the ocean
Wow.
for supplies and troops.
Right.
So Churchill's arguing if Germany gets Iceland,
Okay.
they can basically strangle Allied efforts. And Ediea itself is wide open.
So even though Ediea is trying to stay out of the fight, they're already in a really vulnerable position.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this letter really shows how much pressure they were under.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, trying to stay neutral when you're basically the front line, that's a dangerous game.
A dangerous game indeed.
Yeah.
And it looks like that game got a lot more dangerous very quickly.
Uh-oh.
We have the Daklan Daily News from October 1940.
Okay.
And the headline is, well, it's pretty stark. Abruzzi bombing runs devastate Ediea.
This article really brings the human impact of all this into focus.
Yeah.
Describes the Luftwaffe targeting major cities,
Yes.
Stellar, Belasco, Firwood,
Oh, wow.
South Bimbini,
Jeez.
the Civitavecchia Palace,
Ooh, wow.
this grand historical building completely destroyed. Over 1,800 Edians
Yeah.
killed in these bombings.
I mean, I knew about the bombing,
Yeah.
but reading those details, it really makes you realize this was an all-out assault.
It was.
I mean, did this push Ediea into war?
Absolutely.
You
Public
bet.
opinion, I mean, it just swung drastically towards fighting back.
Oh.
But there's also this intriguing detail in the article. The royal family
Okay.
wasn't in the palace during the bombing. They were visiting, wait for it,
Okay, I'm waiting.
the island of Sodor in the UK.
Sodor. Like Thomas the Tank Engine Sodor.
Yes.
Really?
Apparently there's a real island with that name.
Wow, that's
It's a very, very lucky coincidence for the Edian royals.
That's wild. And I'm guessing it's no coincidence that Ediea declared war on Germany and Italy the very next day.
Very next day.
We've got the official declaration right here.
Oh, cool.
What does it say?
It basically lays out their reasons.
Okay.
The attacks on their cities, obviously,
Yeah.
sinking of their ships, the occupation of Iceland.
Right.
They saw it as a direct attack on their sovereignty.
Yeah.
What I find interesting is how they frame their response. It's not just about self-defense.
Okay.
They're talking about defending democracy and freedom against tyranny.
So from wanting to stay neutral, they're now framing themselves as, I don't know, like crusaders for democracy.
It's a smart move.
Yeah.
It aligns them with the Allied cause.
Right.
But it also speaks to, I think, a deeper motivation.
Yes.
Ediea, despite its size.
Is committed to these ideals.
Okay. And this is where things start to get really interesting, right?
Yeah.
They don't just declare war.
Right.
They actually take the offensive.
You take the offensive.
And they do it with the speed and efficiency.
That's right.
That's remarkable, honestly.
It is. It is.
We've got an FBC radio news bulletin from 1942
Okay.
that announces the liberation of Iceland.
Wow.
I remember reading about this, but refresh my memory. How did they pull that off?
The news bulletin highlights two key things.
Okay.
One, the operation took just under 36 hours.
Less than 2 days.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Liberating a strategically vital island in less than 2 days.
It's incredible.
It really is.
Wow.
And two, they used the SS Setlageville.
The Sitlageville.
It was an old ship they brought back into service.
Why would they use an old ship?
That's where the strategic brilliance comes in.
Ah,
This wasn't just any old ship, you know.
The Sitlageville, it was specifically designed to navigate those icy waters around Iceland. It could get into places other ships couldn't.
Oh.
And it was fast. They could deploy troops rapidly and catch the Germans off guard.
So it's not just about brute force. It's about using your assets strategically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is a pattern we see with Ediea throughout the war.
Uh-huh.
They're smart.
Yeah.
They plan meticulously.
Uh-huh.
And they exploit any advantage they can get.
And it looks like that strategy paid off.
It did.
We also have a series of articles here from the Belasco Gazette
Cool.
covering Edea's subsequent victories.
Okay.
First, in 1943, they liberate Norway.
And again, it's a lightning-fast operation.
Yeah.
Only taken 18 hours.
18 hours.
But it's important to note,
Okay.
liberating Norway wasn't their initial goal.
Right.
They were actually aiming for a different target.
Where were they headed?
They were on their way to liberate Denmark,
Okay.
but they encountered heavy resistance.
From Finland.
Finland, okay?
So this unexpected obstacle
Yeah.
forced them to change their plans and engage Finland first.
So they improvised, adapted to the situation, and that led to the liberation of Norway.
Precisely. They saw an opportunity and they seized it. And once they had secured Norway, they turned their attention back to Finland,
Okay.
eventually invading and installing a pro-Allied government there.
So in a relatively short period, they've liberated 3 countries.
That's right.
That's got to be making waves, I mean, on the world stage.
It absolutely did.
Yeah.
And it's crucial to understand the bigger picture here.
Okay.
These victories
Yeah.
weren't just about those individual countries.
Right.
They were disrupting Nazi operations in the North Atlantic, cutting off supply routes,
Wow.
and contributing to the overall Allied war effort in a major way.
So Ediea, despite being a smaller nation, is having like a disproportionately large impact on the war. Yes, that's amazing.
And it's a great example of how smaller nations can play these pivotal roles in these global conflicts. You know, especially when they have the strategic vision and the willingness to take bold action.
Wow. All right, so we've seen Ediea go from neutrality to becoming this surprisingly powerful force in the war.
It's true.
But now we're getting into a story that's, well, a bit more complicated. And mysterious. The saga of the MV Riga.
Ah, the MV Riga.
Yeah.
This is where things take a fascinating turn.
Okay.
We have this transcript of a pretty tense phone call between the head of the Edian Admiralty and CEO of the Edian Shipping Co.
Right, and it's all about the ship that vanished, right?
Yes.
The MV Riga, wasn't that at the time the largest ship in the world?
It was.
Like, imagine the Titanic, but even bigger.
Even bigger.
The Admiralty wanted it for troop transport.
Yeah.
But it disappeared in 1940.
Thanks. Presumed sunk by U-boats.
Right.
Wait, so how does this phone call fit in?
Because in 1946, the Riga reappears.
It reappears.
In New York City.
What? In New York City?
Yeah.
No way.
This phone call really captures the fallout.
Yeah.
The Admiralty is furious,
That-
accusing the shipping company of hiding this, crucial asset during the war.
But wouldn't the shipping company want to help their own country during the war?
That's what makes it so intriguing.
Yeah.
The shipping company claims they had credible threats. Like a bounty from Hitler himself.
A bounty?
They were even promising the Iron Cross of whoever sank the Riga.
So they're saying they were trying to protect the ship, even if it meant deceiving their own government?
Exactly.
That's crazy.
It's a real moral dilemma.
Yeah, and this phone call, it only gives us a glimpse.
A little glimpse.
Of the anger and the accusations flying back and forth.
Yeah.
Oh, man. We'll have to dig into that more in part 2.
Yeah.
But first, let's just take a step back.
Okay.
What do you think is the key takeaway for our listeners so far?
I think it's this. Yeah. Edia's story really challenges the idea that history is just about the big players, right? Yeah. They show how a nation, even when they're desperately trying to stay neutral, can be pulled into a conflict. Yeah. And then through these strategic decisions, actually shape that conflict.
And even within a nation at war.
That's right.
There can be these internal struggles and secrets.
Absolutely.
Like the mystery of the MV Riga, which just reminds us that history is rarely, black and white.
It's rarely black and white. Yeah, that's right.
All right, well, we've only just scratched the surface of Edea's World War II story.
We have.
There's a lot more to uncover.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for part 2.
Part 2.
Where we'll delve deeper into the MV Riga mystery. The impact of the war on Edea itself and their role in shaping the post-war world.
Awesome.
Can't wait.
I'm excited
to dive back in.
Yeah, me too.
All right, we'll be back.
See you soon. Welcome back to our deep dive into Edea's experience in World War II.
Now, last time, we left off with the mystery of the MV Riga.
That's right.
This massive ship that disappeared and then just reappears in New York City.
It really is like something out of a spy novel, isn't it?
It is.
It is.
We've got this transcript.
Oh, cool.
From an Edean cabinet meeting.
Okay.
And it's labeled The Riga Scandal. I'm guessing this picks up where that phone call left off.
It does, and it gets even more heated.
Okay.
The Admiralty, they want reparations.
Okay.
Arguing that the shipping company's actions, put their entire war effort at risk.
Right.
The shipping company, they're pushing back, saying, hey, we were acting on credible intel. We were protecting a vital asset.
And they already had a lot of ships in the fight, right?
Absolutely.
Wasn't that part of their argument?
Yeah, they claimed they had already committed over 60% of their fleet.
To the war effort.
To the war effort.
That's a lot.
More than any other Edean company.
Jeez.
They were taking huge financial risks.
Yeah.
And their argument was, we couldn't just hand over the Riga without solid proof that it wouldn't be sunk,
So it's like a clash of perspectives here.
It is.
Wartime needs versus individual risk.
Right.
Maybe even a little bit of national pride mixed in there, too.
Absolutely.
It's fascinating, though, that this wasn't just like a squabble between companies.
Yeah.
This went all the way to the president.
This went all the way to the top.
And this is where President
Almora
makes a pretty controversial decision.
Yeah.
He pardons the Edean shipping company.
A pardon?
A pardon.
So no reparations?
No reparations, no punishment. Why would he do that?
Well, the transcript doesn't give us his exact reasoning, but we can speculate.
Sure.
Maybe he felt that in the grand scheme of things, the company's contribution to the war outweighed this one incident.
Right.
Or perhaps he was concerned about, fracture in national unity.
Yeah.
Right, when they were trying to rebuild.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that leadership in wartime, it's not just about military strategy.
Not just about the battles.
It's about managing these internal tensions.
That's right.
And making tough choices that might not please everyone.
That's right.
And this whole episode, even though it's a bit of a side story, right, to the main war effort.
Right.
It raises an important question for me.
Yeah.
How do we assess actions that were taken during these, extraordinary times?
Yeah.
Was the shipping company right to deceive their government?
That's the question, isn't it?
Was the pardon justified?
There's no easy answer.
No easy answer.
Yep.
It definitely adds a layer of complexity.
Oh, yeah.
To Edea's war story.
Yeah, it does.
But before we get too tangled up in the Riga saga, let's zoom out to the bigger picture.
Okay.
We've got a Snooze News article here.
Oh.
About Edea's post-war territorial adjustments.
This is where we see how the war, even though it brought immense challenges, also presented these opportunities for Edea to kind of reshape its place in the world.
Okay, break it down for me.
Yeah.
What do they gain? What do they lose?
Well, they granted independence to Norway and Denmark, which they had liberated during the war.
Right.
And this was a strategic move, showing they weren't interested in empire building, but in, promoting self-determination for these countries.
But they held on to Iceland until 1954, right?
They did.
I guess some strategic locations are just too important to let go of immediately.
Exactly. Yeah. Iceland remained crucial for control in the North Atlantic.
Makes sense.
Especially as the Cold War was heating up.
Right, right.
But the article also mentioned something. Something a little surprising.
Right.
Edea received territories in North America.
North America.
As compensation.
For their war efforts.
For their war efforts.
How did that happen?
It was part of a complex series of negotiations among the Allied powers. Think of it like a way of, recognizing Edia's contribution and giving them a stake in the post-war global order. So they ended up with
Johnson County in Utah.
Wow.
And Mammoth County in Quebec.
So pieces of the U.S. and Canada.
That's right.
Became part of Edea.
That's
crazy.
It's wild, isn't it?
It is.
It shows how war can have these unexpected, far-reaching consequences.
Far-reaching consequences, indeed.
But there's one more aspect of Edea's post-war influence.
Okay.
We need to discuss.
Right.
And it's kind of a, I don't know, like a what-if of history.
Oh. Okay. I like a good what-if.
We've got a map here.
Cool.
Showing the portion of Germany that was under Edean control after the war.
Wow.
And it's a substantial chunk of territory.
It is.
In the north. And you can see how close it is to Berlin.
They were right on the doorstep of the Soviet sector.
That must have been tense.
Oh, it was. Edea was committed to establishing a democratic system in their zone.
Right.
Essentially trying to create this buffer against Soviet influence.
But if I'm remembering correctly, it didn't last.
You're right. Despite their efforts.
Yeah.
They faced numerous challenges.
Like what?
Economic hardship.
Okay.
Political instability. Constant pressure from the Soviets. And by 1951, their zone was integrated into West Germany.
So a missed opportunity.
Potentially, yeah.
What do you think the implications would have been if they'd held on to that part of Germany?
It's fascinating to speculate.
I know.
Right?
Would it have changed the course of the Cold War?
Possibly.
Would Germany have reunified differently?
Who knows?
It's impossible to know for sure.
It is.
But it really highlights how even a nation like Edea, in its post-war actions, was right at the center.
Right at the center.
Of these global power struggles.
That's right.
Okay, so we've covered
a lot.
The political and territorial shifts.
Yeah.
But what about the people of Edea?
Good point.
How did the war impact them?
That's where these audio recordings come in.
Oh.
We have a recording of the president's address to the nation.
Okay.
Shortly after the Abruzzi bombing runs.
Okay.
And then another recording of the official declaration of war speech.
I gotta admit, I kind of skimmed through these.
Sure.
Speeches can be a little dry.
Yeah, I get it.
What makes them worth digging into?
They're not just speeches, you know, they're windows into the mindset of a nation at war.
Right.
The president's address.
Yeah.
It's incredibly personal. You know, he speaks directly to the citizens, acknowledging their fear and their grief, but also rallying them to action.
So it's like a pep talk.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
He uses really powerful imagery.
Oh.
He compares Edea to a small but fierce bird defending its nest against a predator.
That's a pretty vivid image.
It is, and it plays into that whole underdog narrative we've seen with them.
Exactly.
And then the declaration of war speech, it goes beyond just listen grievances.
Okay.
It frames the fight as this moral crusade for freedom, for democracy, for the very soul of Edea. It's a really powerful rhetoric.
It's interesting how in both recordings, they emphasize those big ideals.
Yeah, it's not just about protecting their borders.
Right.
It's about something much larger.
Yeah.
That's crucial to understand in Edea.
Okay.
They saw themselves as fighting for something bigger than themselves.
Right.
And I think that resonated with their people.
Yeah.
Gave them this sense of purpose in a time of incredible fear and uncertainty.
It also probably helped them forge alliances.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And gain support from other nations.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone loves a good underdog story.
They do.
Especially when it's tied to these universal values.
Absolutely. Right. And it's a reminder that wartime leadership isn't just about military tactics.
Right.
It's about winning hearts and minds.
Right.
Both at home and abroad.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground here in part 2.
We have.
Political intrigue, territorial changes, even the human impact of war.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. It has.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up this deep dive, I'd love to hear what stood out to you the most.
Oh, let me think.
What surprised you? What made you think?
For me, it's the sheer audacity of Edea.
Audacity, okay.
This small nation, initially desperate for neutrality, ends up liberating countries, reshaping maps.
Wow.
Even attempting to rebuild a portion of Germany.
Right.
They weren't just reacting to events.
Yeah.
They were shaping them.
They were shaping them. I'm with you there.
Yeah.
But what I'm still grappling with is the MV Riga incident.
Oh, yeah, the MV Riga.
It's a reminder that even within a seemingly unified war effort, there can be these hidden stories.
Oh, yeah.
Conflicting loyalties.
Absolutely.
Decisions made under immense pressure that we might never fully understand.
That's a great point, and it leads us perfectly into our final part, where we'll explore the lingering questions, the what-ifs, and ultimately what Edia's journey through World War II tells us about the world today.
I'm excited.
Me too.
Welcome back to our final part of this deep dive into Edea in World War II. It's been quite a journey.
It has.
From neutrality to liberation.
Yeah.
Political intrigue to, global influence.
It's true.
Edea's story is full of surprises.
Full of surprises. It's been fascinating to unpack these sources with you.
I know, right? What was started as a stack of, seemingly like
random
documents has revealed, I don't know, like a complex, nuanced narrative.
Absolutely.
And one that, I think challenges our assumptions about history and the role of smaller nations.
It really does.
Exactly. And before we wrap up, I want to explore a few lingering questions.
Okay.
Like the what-ifs.
The what-ifs.
That keep popping up in my mind.
I like a good what-if.
You mentioned Edea's attempt to establish a democratic northern Germany.
Right.
They were so close to Berlin.
They were.
Imagine if they had succeeded.
It's a tantalizing thought experiment, isn't it?
It is.
A democratic northern Germany.
Right.
Right on the border of the Soviet sector.
Yeah.
Could have fundamentally altered the Cold War landscape.
In what way?
Think about it.
Okay.
A potential economic powerhouse.
Yeah.
A beacon of democracy.
Right.
In a region
dominated by
communist ideology.
Yeah.
It might have even hastened German reunification.
It makes you wonder if the U.S. and other allied powers, right?
Yeah.
Could have supported Edea's efforts more, given,
the strategic importance.
The strategic importance of that.
That's a question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Was there a missed opportunity here?
Right.
Could a stronger commitment from the West have tipped the scales in Edea's favor?
Right.
We can't know for sure.
No, of course not.
But it really underscores how
even small nations can be caught in the crossfire of these global power struggles.
And it reminds us that the decisions made in the aftermath of war can have repercussions that last for generations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The world we live in today is in many ways a product of those post-war choices. The paths taken.
And the paths not taken.
Exactly.
All right, let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about Edea's impact on the war.
Yeah.
But I'm also curious about the impact of the war.
On Edea.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
One
that's often overlooked.
How did this whole experience change them as a nation?
Well, we can look at their economic records.
Okay.
And there was a significant shift towards industrialization during the war.
Okay.
They had to ramp up production to support their military efforts.
Makes sense.
And that had these lasting effects.
Like what?
On their workforce, their infrastructure, even their social fabric. So the war basically forced them to modernize and industrialize more rapidly than they might have otherwise.
Precisely.
And we can't forget,
the human impact.
The social and psychological impact.
That's right.
Right. The bombing of their cities, the loss of life, the constant threat of invasion. These experiences would left an indelible mark on the national psyche.
Absolutely.
It makes me think about those audio recordings we heard.
Yeah.
The president's address after the bombing, the Declaration of War speech. They were filled with this sense of defiance, but also this deep understanding of the sacrifices being made.
Those recordings, they offer a powerful glimpse into that wartime mindset.
Yeah.
They reveal a nation grappling with fear and grief, but also a determination to fight for their values, for their very survival.
And you can hear that sense of unity, the collective spirit that emerges when a nation faces
an existential threat.
It's a reminder that war, despite its horrific nature, can also bring people together.
That's true.
Forge a sense of shared purpose. And national identity.
Yeah, it's a powerful thing.
But that unity can also be fragile.
It can.
As we saw with the MV Riga incident.
Yeah, that's right.
Even in the midst of a war,
there
can be internal conflicts, secrets, decisions made under immense pressure that can fracture that sense of unity.
And that's what makes the MV Riga story so fascinating.
It really is.
It's a case study in the complexities of wartime decision-making.
And it raises questions about
loyalty,
accountability, the balance between individual actions and national interests.
That's right.
And it's a reminder that history is rarely neat and tidy.
It's messy.
It is.
Right.
There are always multiple perspectives. Competing narratives, events that just, defy easy explanation.
Which makes it all the more important to keep exploring, to keep asking questions, and to keep challenging
our assumptions.
Yes, our assumptions.
Edia's story, in all its complexity, offers valuable lessons for us today.
It does.
As we navigate a world still grappling with the legacies of war. And the challenges of peace.
That's right.
Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listener with a final thought. Something to ponder as they continue their own exploration of history. We focus on the grand narratives.
The big picture.
The battles. The political maneuvering.
The global impact.
But I think it's also crucial to remember the individual stories.
Oh, the individual stories.
The human experiences that are shaped by these larger events.
You're absolutely right. Behind every historical event, every political decision, every military campaign, there are countless
individual stories
of courage, resilience, sacrifice, loss. These are the stories that make history come alive.
They do.
They connect us to the past and remind us of our shared humanity.
So as you continue to delve into the history of Ediea or any other historical period,
That's right.
Remember to look beyond the headlines.
Go deeper.
Seek out those personal narratives.
Yes.
Listen to the voices of those who lived through those times. Their stories
are the heart of history.
They are the heart of history. Well, on that note, we'll conclude our deep dive into Edia's remarkable journey.
It has been a remarkable journey.
Through World War II. It's been a privilege to explore this fascinating chapter of history.
It really has.
With you.
I've enjoyed it.
We hope you've gained new insights.
Yeah, me too.
Sparked your curiosity.
Absolutely.
And perhaps even inspired you to delve deeper into the past.
That's what it's all about.
Thank you for joining us on this journey.
It's been a pleasure.
I encourage you to keep exploring.
Keep digging.
Keep questioning.
Keep asking those questions.
And keep discovering.
Keep learning.
The rich tapestry of history.
It's out there.